All right, hi my boys and girls at home. I have our multiplication study guide here that I want to go over with you. I'd like for y'all, when y'all are completing it, to use my video or at least the information that I'm going to provide in this video to help you with solving. I know that some of the stuff you have been doing great at, but there are a few things I noticed from the Check My Progress that we definitely need to talk about. So, some of this is pretty easy. Problem number 1 is fairly simple. It gives you 4 groups of 5 equals what? You have a model, a picture there to help you. Now, anytime that you see a model picture representing a multiplication equation problem, I want you to label the groups. And what I mean is, I want you to look at each one, and let me see if I can, there we go. I want you to look at each group and determine how many are in each group. And then you're going to write that number underneath. So I have 5 in this group. And because multiplication means equal groups, meaning that the same amount has to be in each group, I'm going to look and see that there are 5 there, there are 5 there, and there are 5 there. Now that I have looked at my picture, I see that there are 5 in each of these 4 groups. I know that means 4 times 5. Okay, that's your multiplication equation. And I also can write this 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. That is my repeated addition. Okay? Both of these are going to help me to look and go, so 4 groups of 5. I can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20. I can add 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20. Or I can say 4 groups times 5 in each group equals 20. Now, what I want us to avoid is counting inside each of these circles or each of these groups for the amount because we're in 3rd grade and we shouldn't still be counting individual pictures. So your question would be, well, Miss Manus, well, why are they in there? Because that helps us to have a visual, to help us to visually see the problem. It's a part of that RDW when we talk about word problems. This is a part of it where it's always good to have a visual to help us with solving. But when we do this, we also should be able to start looking for patterns. And I see that this is a 5 and a 5 and a 5. I can count by 5s. That is the more effective way of helping me add versus counting each little spot. So I have 5, 5, 5 and 5, 5, 10, 15, 20. Now that I have worked it out, I've talked it out, I've used some strategies. This is equal groups, repeated addition, both strategies to help me solve. I'm going to look at my answer choices and I can see that D is an answer choice down here, 20, and now I'm good to go. All right, input, output. I love input, output tables because they're really very, very simple. So what an input, output table means basically is that this input is the number that's going in. It's going into the box, into the table, and the output, that's the number coming out. So, all right, Miss Manus, well, what does that mean? Because 1 went in and 3 came out? Exactly. So since we're talking with multiplication, okay, I want to find out what number times 1 will give me 3. Well, quickly, I know any number times 1 is that number. So if 3 is my answer, if that's the product, the output of the 1 going in, chances are 1 times 3 is going to give me 3. Now, here's the most important thing you have to understand about an input. output table is that rule, whatever number you're timesing by, has to work for all numbers that are going in and the numbers coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and say times 3 on each of these. And then that's going to help me go ahead and see if that is the actual rule. Okay? So 2 times 3, does that equal 6? Yes. Yes, it does. 3 times 3, does that equal 9? Yes, it does. 4 times 3 equals 12. Is that correct? Yes. So our rule for this input-output table is times 3. So I'm going to look down here at my answer choices. I have 4, 6, 2, and look at there. There's 3. If for some reason, say this number was 0, okay, well, we won't talk about that. If it were 0, then that's when I would go to the next number and I would check to see what number times would give me that product. And then that would, of course, help me determine what my rule was. If there's a 0 here on the very first spot, go to the next row on your table and then determine what the rule is, okay? All right, number 3. Which multiplication equation does the array show? So here's what I've been telling my kids in class. Every single time you see an array or an area model, I want you to number the rows and number the columns every single time. It does not matter if you can look at that and go, oh, I already know the answer. I want to see you number. Well, what does it mean to number? It simply means that you number your rows. There are 5 rows. Rows go across. Columns go up and down. So I have 5 rows and 1, 2, 3 columns. Now that I have that information, I'm looking for a multiplication equation that will match this array. So that means that my first number in my equation is going to be my rows. Always your rows first. So I have 5 rows. Then I'm going to say 5 times how many columns? I have 3 columns. Now, I don't have to know what the answer is because it's asking me to choose the multiplication equation. Now that I've done that, I can go down here to look for my equation. Immediately I see 5 times 3 right there equals 15. Now that is correct, but I'm going to check all my other answer choices just to make sure. 5 times 25, does that match this equation? No, it does not. 4 times 5, does that match that equation? No, it does not. 4 times 3, does that match that equation? No, it does not. See how easy it is when you number your rows and then number your columns, then write your equation to match? Then you just look down there and can immediately find your problem. Now, I know you're going to say, Miss Manus, I'm taking this online, or I'm going to be doing my work online. You can still get a piece of paper. You can draw out that picture of an array on a piece of paper and then follow the steps. Step 1, number your rows. Step 2, number the columns. Step 3, write the number for how many rows you have. Then your next step is times. Write the number for columns, then equal, and you have your equation. All right, now let's work on the next one. So our next problem, and this one kind of gets a little tricky for some people, and definitely we need to talk through this one. So which 2 ways show how to find the value of 4 times 50? All right, so first of all, I want to draw out what 4 times 50 will look like, or write and think about what it's talking about. Remember how I just talked about with the array, your first number is going to be your groups, And your second row is, or your second number is then your how many are columns or how many are in each group. First number is your group. Second number is how many are in your groups. So I want to draw this out. I know I have 4 groups. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups. Inside each group are 50. So I need to draw 5 10s to represent 50 for each of my rows. Now I'm going to go back and make sure I did that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, did one too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I now have 4 groups of 50. Okay. Now, 4 groups of 50. If I look at this, and I'm going to count those by 10s, I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So 4 times 50 is 200. So if I go over here and I look at all my answer choices, 4 times 5, does that even match this? No, it does not match. It's missing the 0 for on the 5. That is not even a possible answer choice. Now, if I look at this, 5 groups times 10. Okay, if I'm not sure, I'm just going to go ahead and real quick. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And if I say that there are 10 in each of these groups, and then I count or add, I'm going to do my repeated addition. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's going to equal 50. Is 50 and 200 the same? No. No, it is not the same. And do you see how Miss Manus is working these problems out? Because I want you to understand that with all work, you need to work everything out. Otherwise, you're going to make mistakes. 5, 10, 15, 20. Otherwise, you're going to make mistakes. I don't want you making mistakes. Now, this is going to be where we use associative grouping to help us solve this one right here. I'm going to take and I'm going to add, let's group the 5 and the 10 together. And if I remember correctly, I just solved that over here. 5 times 10 is 50. And then if I say now 4 times 50, look at there. Do these match? They sure do. They match now. So I'm going to leave this as one of my possible 2 choices to show the value of 4 times 50. And then I'm going to keep working. I'm going to go to D. D says 4 groups of 5 ones. Now, if I look up here at the picture that I drew to match this equation, 4 groups of 50, does 4 groups of 5 ones match this? No, it does not. 4 groups of 5 ones, if we draw that out, 1, 2, 3, 4, there would only be 1 in each of those. And then if I do repeated addition, 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be a product of 4. Not the same thing as 200. Okay? Now, not the same. Last answer choice is 4 groups of 5 10s. Well, 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, with 10 in each group. 4 groups of 5 10s would match this picture that I have right up here. So I needed 2 ways to show the value of 4 times 50. Well, I found one right here, And then I have found one right here. Now, do you see how much work Miss Manus did to help me solve that? I had to work out each of my answer choices to see which of those would match this. And before that, I wrote a model, a picture, to show this equation and what the product of the equation was. All of that helped me to determine what the correct answer choices would be for that question. Now, let's go to our next one. Select two expressions that have a product of 24. Well, I know by working on my vocabulary Quizlet flashcards, I know that product means the answer to a multiplication equation. Now, expression, what does expression mean? Well, expression just is another word for equation, number sentence, and if you look at your answer choices, it looks like, again, it's a multiplication equation. So I'm looking for the answer, the product of two multiplication equations where 24 is my answer. So what do I need to do? I need to solve each of these equations to find my answer. So 3 groups. I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 groups. I'm going to put 8 in each group. Then I'm going to label repeated addition, and then I'm going to look at that and go, I know that 8 plus 8 is 16, and then 16 plus 8 I know is going to be 24. Because if you take 4 away from here and add to that, that makes it a group of 20 with 4 as my ones, 24. Okay? Now, am I going to go ahead and circle because I know 24 is the answer choice? Not yet. I want to solve all of them first. Now, 2 times 6, that means I have 2 groups with 6 in each group. Do you see how Miss Manus is drawing pictures? I'm going to label with how many are in each one. I'm going to turn it into repeated addition. And I know that 6 plus 6 equals 12. All right, next one. 4 times 6. That means 4 groups. There are my 4 groups. 6 in each group. Number with how many are in each group. Turn it into repeated addition. And then I can then continue on with some of my strategies for addition. 6 plus 6 is 12. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 and 12 is 24. 24. Okay, one more to solve. 3 times 4. I have 3 groups with 4 in each group. Again, using the same strategies, I'm using equal groups, repeated addition, and then I'm going to count by 4s. I have 4, 8, 12. Now, I was looking for the 2 expressions that have a product of 24. Here was a product of 24. That was 12. Here's a product of 24. That was 12. Now, again, when you are presented with these problems, you need to have a piece of paper beside you and work them out. I want to have you practicing working it out by drawing your equal groups, labeling the groups, using repeated addition, and then continue on with your other addition strategies, skip counting, whatever it is that you use to help you with solving effectively, okay? Also, make sure you're paying attention to when it asks you, you see these bold and underlined, it means you need to choose 2. Make sure that they're the 2 correct ones. All right, number 6. A bakery packs birthday cupcakes in 2 boxes of 2 sizes. And there's the example. You've got 2 over here, box 1 and box 2. Now, we need to select the two statements that are true, okay? So before I even go down here, what I'm going to do is go up here to these arrays, and I'm going to number the rows, number the columns, and write out the equations for them before I do anything down here. I need to know what the information is that I'm working with before I start reading the choices at the bottom. So, numbering my rows. So it's 4 rows, and since there's not a lot of room up there, I'm going to go down here and number my columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I have 4. 4 is my first number. That is the groups. Then I have 5 in each group. And I know that 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. All right, over here, again, number your rows. Rows go across. Then number the columns. Columns go up and down. Okay, now I'm ready to write my equation. The rows go first. There are 3 rows, 3 groups, times 6 columns, 6 in each group. And I know that 3 times 6 is going to be